Good morning, boys and girls. It's Miss Marino coming to you live from her apartment in New Jersey. Today we're going to discuss the American Revolution and the things that you need to know about the American Revolution. First, you have to know that the American Revolution was a fight for freedom. It was a fight from the colonists that had arrived from England, and who they were fighting against are the English soldiers, or otherwise known as British soldiers. So freedom is a very important concept. In general, every human being wants the dignity to have the freedom to choose things, okay? As a child, I understand that you don't have all the freedoms because you're growing. But when you become an adult, you live in one of the best countries in the world, and that is because we give you freedom of speech. We give you freedom of religion. We give you freedom of the press, which means you can write what you wish and you will not be locked up for it like in other countries. Okay, there is free enterprise here, which means if you decide to start a business, you are allowed to do so. There are guidelines, but you will be allowed to do so. Anyway, so today's topic is the American Revolution, and that is the war between these colonists and the British soldiers that were sent here by Britain to impose their rulings. Okay, freedom was so important to the colonists that they were willing to suffer terrible hardships and years of war to win it. These are the questions that I will be asking you in the future, but I'm going to just pose them to you now so that you can hear them and process them and think about them. And as we read together, you'll be able to remember these and look for them. I'll create a document for you so that you'll know what you'll be looking for. The first one is, what disagreements led to the American Revolution? The second one, which people and groups impacted the American Revolution? The third one, what were the major events and battles of the American Revolution? And the fourth one is, how did the American Revolution affect American history? So with that in mind, now I will turn to the page where it has a timeline of the things that were occurring in the world and also in the American Revolution. So a timeline is a line that has different things posted on it of things that would occur and the years that they happened. So on the top of this timeline is everything that has to do with the American Revolution. And on the bottom of the line are various other things that were happening in the world along that time frame. Okay? We're not going to look at that right now because I expect you to have your own copy of your own electronic book one of these days in the near future. So one of the questions that I'll be asking you when you receive the book is, how many years after the passage of the Stamp Act did the Boston Massacre take place? Then, when did the treaty officially end in the Revolutionary War? Now, those sound like difficult concepts. However, when you're looking at a timeline, you merely have to look for the words that are there. For example, the Boston Massacre would be one thing that you would look for. The other thing you're looking for is the Stamp Act. So you look on the timeline and say, where is it? Is it in the beginning, in the middle, or at the end of the timeline, or in between there? So that's how you come up with your responses, and you look at the timeline because the timeline actually tells you years as well. Okay? So timelines are very important. Now I'm going to talk about people. The people that are previewed in this chapter are Crispus Attucks. He was the firstborn of 5 colonists to be killed at the Boston Massacre, a skirmish from British soldiers and Boston townspeople. That's how he was killed, between a fight between them. Then there was Mercy Otis Warren. Wrote several patriotic plays, poems, and pamphlets. in addition to her 3-volume history of the American Revolution. So she documented things basically, okay? Number 3, George Washington. George Washington was forced to surrender during his first battle of the French and Indian War. This battle marked the only time he ever surrendered to an enemy. I had completely forgotten about that. Look at that. Teacher relearning. And it happens. It should always happen. We should always learn and relearn. Then we have Patrick Henry. Patrick Henry inspired many Americans during the Revolutionary War with his moving speeches. So he wrote speeches that stimulated people, that made them think and want to take action. Okay? That's what moving means. It touched his heart, it moved their minds, it made them act. Okay? That's Patrick Henry. Then we have Thein Denjana, was rewarded for his service to the British with a land grant in what is now Canada. And he was a Mohawk leader who later took the name Joseph Brant. Okay? Then we have the 6th one is Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson served in the Virginia legislature and as a governor of Virginia during the Revolutionary War. Later, he was president of the United States. So keep that in mind. Thomas Jefferson first served in the Virginia legislature and later became a president. Bernardo de Galvez raised an army in New Orleans in 1779 to fight against the British along the Gulf of Mexico during the Revolutionary War. So that's our first Hispanic there. We have English people, and we have a Native American, one female, and one Hispanic. Mary Ludwig Hayes Macaulay, she's the 2nd woman. She spent difficult winters of the 1777 to 1778 at the Valley Forge with the Continental Army. Here it doesn't exactly tell me what she did there, but okay. She is Molly Pitcher. So I didn't realize that Molly Pitcher wasn't her real name. But she helped out carrying water to the troops and taking care of them. She also fired cannons during the battle after her husband was wounded. She was helping out in many ways. And those are the 8 people that you will be studying. Okay, and that is an 8-minute wrap. We will go on to geography in the next section and move on forward afterwards. Take care. See you in class.